Hello there, Rebel Rooster modeling viewers. Tis I, good old Terry here on this 20th before Thanksgiving Day 2024. Hey, and really happy Thanksgiving to you. And for any of you out there that live in places that don't celebrate Thanksgiving, happy you didn't gain 5 pounds tomorrow because you're not eating Thanksgiving Day to you. Pretty quick one today. I'm going to try to keep it short as I can, but once I get talking, you know how it gets, but I'll do my best here. Hey, there's always 10 rules for this, 10 rules for that, 10 tips for this, 10 ways to do that, blah, blah. Hey, I'm going to grab my nose and plug it and jump in the 10 rule pool here and make my own little 10 rules to help you do better in your models. Now, generally, I really don't like to spend more than 2 or 3 days on a model. I just like to crank them out, make them look decent. I just really enjoy building them, and I try to keep it painless. Now, every once in a while, I get the hanker to do something really, take my time and make a nice kit out of it. Like the Corsair that got me the silly little thing up there, that little plaque from that contest, these kinds of things, but generally speaking, I don't put that much effort into them. I crank them up pretty quick, but sometimes I'll do them nice and slow. And in light of that, kind of combining the two things between just getting it out for fun and still wanting things to look good, I've come up with these 10 rules. Sometimes I follow all 10 when I'm working hard on something. Sometimes I only follow a few of them. But hey, here they are, and hopefully you'll gain something from this. Okay, number 1. Don't waste money trying to save money. And what I mean by this, I saw a video not terribly long ago. A guy put out, I bought a Revell Corsair and it's just as good as the Tamiya Corsair and it only cost me $20. So what he did was he bought the 1/32 Revell Corsair, and those who've done it know, it ain't good, okay? And so the guy went on to buy a resin engine, a resin cockpit, resin wheels, photo etch seat belts, photo etch cockpit. The guy spent about $200-300 in aftermarket stuff to make the model look just as good as Tamiya 1/32 Corsair, but he saved money by only buying it the $20 cheap kit that looks just as good. Well, you know what he did? He turned that Steve Austin into the Bionic Man. There wasn't anything original issue. It's like these women with the duck lips and those crazy eyebrows and Botox and all stuff, and they walk around and they look like this, and they don't look anything like what they look like. And so the same thing happened with that model, So instead of sinking the 100, I mean, you can get these things online. Here's the Tamiya Corsair in question. You can find this thing online for $129, $130. A lot of money, but it looks beautiful, and everything you need is right there. You don't have to go buying $300 worth of extra parts to make your model look good. So you're not doing yourself any favors. Don't waste any money trying to save any money. Number 2, buy a kit appropriate to your experience and skill level. Now, oh, by the way, really quick. Let's not really quick. Let's save this for this very same point, actually, instead of backing up. Buy one that's appropriate to your skill level. All right, so first-time model buyers, they always get told, buy Revell, buy Airfix, or great beginner kits. Yes and no. I mean, if it's a Revell kit that was inherited monogram, the Revellogram, as I like to call them, it's going to be pretty good, but the Revell kits, I'm really not nuts about. I don't like the plastic on them. I don't think the fits are so awesome, really. Same with Airfix. I do like their Airfix's new Redbox P40. There's some exceptions, but generally speaking, I'm not nuts about them. You're better off, I mean, if you're a beginner, why not get an old Tamiya kit like this old one. Okay, it's old, but you don't have a ton of parts. Here it is, the whole model. 2 sprues in one bag. Goes together pretty nicely, and it looks good. And with a paint job, it turns out to be a pretty nice model. And it won't frustrate you like the Airfix kits do, with like their Airfix Mustang. I hate that thing. I didn't do their 72nd, which everybody says is pretty good, but I did do their 48th, and I just couldn't stand it. Tail wouldn't go in, fuselage wouldn't close, just, and the gun ports were poor. I just didn't like it, and it cost more than the well, comparable to a Tamiya P51, which is much more pleasurable build and looks just as good. You're talking about $5 or $6 difference, totally worth it. So, beginning kit, don't go for the cheapest model. It's not the one. So at the same time, don't go buying something way beyond your skill level. Like if you want to buy something big, you're not going to go buying this big old Tamiya Corsair if you're a beginner. There's like what, 300-400 parts in that thing. I'll tell you, it's going to make you hate modeling. If you want something big, Hasegawa makes nice big models, and they have far fewer parts. They give you a decent amount of detail, but here's the whole thing: 1, 2, 3, 4 sprues, man, and it looks good when it's done. So Hasegawa is a good go-between between crappy models and super good ones. So something appropriate to your experience and skill level. You might, and I'm only talking airplanes because I'm an airplane guy. Tanks, I don't know my butt from a hole in the ground about tanks or cars. I built one model car in my life. It was that Johan Cadillac ambulance, which I swear I'll never build another model car again because of that one. I hated it that much, probably because I went in there as a tenderfoot and didn't know what I was doing. But that's my story. I'm an airplane guy anyway, so anyway, that's that. Number 3, know where you're going and get your references. If you're just going to build, a lot of beginners and even some experienced, they just want to build what's on the box. They want to build the picture of the model. That's fine. As you do more, you're going to get a little tired of just building what's on the box. You're going to want to do something different. You're going to want to take something like, say this Corsair here, I didn't, it's got the markings from the box, but I did a lot to it to add to it. Pointing pencil, come here. Did the dual layer chipping, some silver, some chromate, chipped the wings, beat up the walkways, put some antennas on it, a little bit of weather on the bottom, some field paint touch-ups that it's hard to see in the light here, but I got a couple spots on the horizontal stab where they touched up the paint job, so I knew where I was going with that. I had reference photos to go by, and I followed those. And that's really important if you're doing any chipping. Chipping on the blind, where you're just doing it, shooting from the hip, it rarely turns out well. And weathering is another thing that kind of does it. So get your reference photos. You can get them from the internet. You can get them from old books. Lots of sources for those. So know where you're going and have your references instead of just feeling your way through and hoping you land at the right spot. Number 4, where are my spectacles? I can't see. Number 4, make every part, every piece, its own model. Something that it's hard to see here. I wish I paid attention to this better when I was building it. It's hard to tell, but this Corsair, these landing gears kind of come in like this. They curve just a little bit. I wish I had paid attention to that. I would have made that straightened out so it would have looked better on the model. I mean, it was good enough to fool the judges. They didn't see it, or they didn't notice it or something, but make each piece its own model because these things are all going to come together. So like when you're doing a wheel, scrape those mold lines off the tire so you don't have a line running down the middle of it. So you can do that a couple ways. You can sand it out and then get a razor saw and put the cross hatching of the tire tread back in there, or you can just make it look like the tire has been on there a while, and not enough to wear out the tire completely, but to where that portion of the tire that contacts the ground the most is a little bit smooth. That's another way to do it. But again, it comes to getting your photos, knowing where you're going. But pay attention to little things like that. on your gear struts. Let me find one here. Okay, here's one that's notorious for this. Everybody who makes a Mustang does this, or any airplane with model airplane landing gear. On the struts, like right here, the struts, you'll see a line down there, a mold line. It just ruins the look when there's that thing there sitting there staring at you after you've painted it. So scrape that down, sand it around again. Sink mark, those kind of things. Make every piece its own model. So if you're working on landing gear, that landing gear is the whole model to you right now. You're not worried about wings, engines. Sorry. You're just working on that piece of landing gear. That's the whole model to you. And it'll turn out a lot better that way. Your work area matters. I've got a definite flow here. I'm sorry for coughing. My wife's baking stuff for tomorrow, and I'm sampling the goods as a safety device for her. Anyway, and I got a little bit of biscotti cookie that just won't finish going down there. But anyway, your work area layout matters. Some people have asked me to do a tour of my work area here, and I'll get to that sooner or later. But I have everything laid out in a specific way. Paintbrushes are sitting here, toothpicks are here, the knives are here, the cements are up here, the polishing stuff is here, I got everything laid out because I just go, if I want this, it's there, if I want that, it's there. You don't want to spend your whole day hunting things down looking for them. And everybody's bench gets messy while you're building. If your bench is always clean, you're a sicko, and go get help. But for the rest of us, we make a mess, but we know where everything is. It's kind of an organized mess. And when we're done building the model, at least the way I do it, which is the way everybody should do it because it's the way I do it. But the way I do it is I just got a mess going. Then when the model's done, I clean the area up. Everything's good to go. And then I start the next model. But I know where everything's going to be. I have a definite layout there. So that's going to affect your building a lot because you don't want to be knocking things. The last thing you want to do is knock things over. Looking for something else, so that matters. 6, stop a bad day early. You ever a day where everything's just going awesome? Oh yeah, blah blah blah. Before you know it, it's time to hit the rack, go to bed, and the next day you come back out, and man, you can't find your ass with two hands in a roadmap. Everything you do is messing up. You're dropping things, knocking things. Just stop a bad day early. Just go away. Don't just go away. Come back later in the day or the next day. But bad days rarely get better when you're working on a model. They just don't. I don't know why. But stop a bad day early. Number 7. Photograph frequently. Take pictures of your model. Zoom in. Look at them. Some people say use a mirror. That works for some. It doesn't work for me. I still get fooled into thinking that my work looks better than it does with a mirror. But photograph frequently, and you're going to find that there's things that looked good to you because you wanted it to look good. And you're kind of biased, right? So you don't see what's wrong. When you photograph it and then you look at it, it's not going to lie to you. You're going to see your mistakes or your weaknesses. So photograph frequently and review your work and make the appropriate corrections. 8, test fit everything. Now, that doesn't mean you got to go taking the model right out of the box and get tape and make sure the whole thing goes together. But every step you're doing, test fit everything. And this is true even on models you've built a number of. Like this Tamiya Mustang here, this thing here. How many of these things I've put together, and I don't even use the instructions anymore, but I still do test fit because every once in a while on this particular model, I don't know what it is, but those Tamiya does something. They do a lot of stuff I love, but one of the things that I really love that they do is they give you one-piece wheels on this model, and the outer hub is a separate piece, and it fits inside there. But whether it's I didn't make the cut correctly when taking it off the sprue, or it just something went weird with the molder, every once in a while I'll get one where it doesn't go in there, and I got to shave it And if I go painting everything and then say, oh, it's time to put it in there, the cement, and then I put it in there and then it doesn't go in, I gotta let that cement dry before I start shaving and everything. It just becomes a pain in the ass. So test fit everything before gluing it. And after you paint stuff, it's not a big deal on a lot of models, but when you start getting into the really good stuff like Wingnut Wings and Edward 148 scale aircraft, sometimes a little bit of too thick paint will keep something from fitting. So test fit it after you've painted, especially, which kind of leads us into, it's not a rule, it's just I don't even know if it's a thing, but the argument of the day seems to be whether or not, sorry, I got an itchy skin cancer up here. Anyway, the argument of the day is, do you paint on the sprue or not? Really, who gives a crap, right? Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't, but as a rule, I don't, and the reason is because I don't want to have completely painted something and then go to put it together, and then where I cut it, the paint's missing, and now I got to go touch it up. I like to just cut things off and then paint them by themselves. That's just me. Doesn't matter. It's not the right way. It's not the wrong way. It's just the Terry way. Don't get caught up in stupid shit like that. But you know, it's good for you. Good for you. So test fit everything, especially after you've painted. Number 9. Actually, let me switch 9 and 10. Let's make number 10 number 9, number 10. So number 9, don't be a copycat. And what I mean is, I'll give you an example. When I was, excuse me, when I was 15 years old, I went to the record store and I saw this really cool looking shirt. It was Iron Maiden Killers. And there's, Iron Maiden, and there's Eddie with the axe. And I was like, wow, that's cool. And I'm walking around with it. And then one day I'm like, you know what? I wonder if their music's any good. So I bought their album and I listened to it and I was like, wow, this stuff's awesome. Their Iron Maiden's great. So I cut some lawns, pulled some weeds, whatever people needed done, bleaching walls, whatever it was. Saved up enough money to get my first electric guitar. Story in itself there. It was a piece of shit. But anyway, I didn't know how to play the guitar. I didn't know the first thing about it. It was a crappy guitar, and I just started thinking I was playing. I'm gonna play music like Iron Maiden, and it was just terrible. It wasn't even notes, man. But anyway, okay, copycat. I was like, the guitar must be why I'm not playing well. I need a better guitar. So I cut more lawns and I did more, more work, shoveled more manure for the neighbors who owned horses and stuff like that and everything. And saved up enough money to get a Fender Stratocaster. Because that's what Dave Murray played, Hey, Dave Murray's gonna... But I couldn't just get the Fender Stratocaster. It had to be black one that he played. I was copycat. Then I'll really be a good guitar player if I get the guitar Dave Murray. I still sucked, So it wasn't until I learned how to play guitar the right way later that I got better. But the thing was, I thought that the black guitar is what was going to make me a good, the black Fender Stratocaster with the DiMarzio Super Distortion was going to make me the better guitar player, and it clearly wasn't. I was copycatting. I wasn't, doing it the right way. So this is where, well, so-and-so uses, X brand paint. That's going to make me a better modeler. Well, yeah. If you're painting with Vallejo in your airbrush, yeah, that's gonna make a difference. But generally, whether you're using Tamiya acrylics or Tamiya lacquers, MRP, Mr. Color, that's going to make a little. Some things are better than others, but generally, don't do something just because someone else is using that product. It's not going to make you better. Don't weather things exactly like they do. Take their techniques, but do it your way. You know what I mean? What works for you. Because some people can work magic with some things and some just can't. So just because someone's doing something doesn't automatically make it the right way. So don't copycat them. Take from them, learn from them, emulate them, but don't copy them, right? And then the last one, this is kind of irony, break the rules, right? Break the rules, man. For example, assembly orders. You get the instruction sheet. Now, when you're a beginner, you're going to do this, right? Follow the instructions you should, right? But after you've done a few models, especially if you've done the same one, I don't even open the instruction sheets half the time. These Tamiya Corsairs, basically pretty much every airplane sitting here on my bench, man. I've done so many of them, I don't even open the instructions anymore. Generally, what I do with airplanes, it goes in this order. Most instruction sheets, it goes cockpit, engine, landing gear, close the fuselage, mate the fuselage and the wings, and then comes pitos, guns, windows, whatever. I usually do, the first thing I do is I eat the frog. I eat the frog right away, and I do the canopy. I hate masking canopies unless I have an Edward mask, most of which models I don't. So when I get a Japanese World War II fighter, or God help me, a dive bomber, with their 86,000 frames on every windscreen, and I hate having to mask those things. It's just a drag, cutting small strips of tape, making sure they fit and everything. It's the first thing I do. I do the canopies. Just get it over with. So it's canopies, then engine, then cockpit. Then I get the major components and I polish them all really nice and smooth so they'll take nice paint. Then I'll close up the cockpit, and then close up the fuselage. Then I will do seam work on there, so everything's done on the fuselage except the wing to fuselage mating, and I'll do one side then the other side, so that I have very little work to do on the fillet. And then I will dress those up, and then I will do the landing gear separately, paint the landing gear and assemble it, and then I go back to finishing horizontal stabs. But basically, you get the idea. I could, gosh, I'm go rambling on, and you're probably rolling your eyes and yawning. But anyway, break the rules. Find the method of building that suits you best, and do that. Some things are going to go without saying. You're not going to build the whole damn thing and then be like, oh, maybe I should put the cockpit together, and it's not, you got the whole model put together. That ain't going to work. But, break the rules. The assembly order that works for you after you've done it a few times. Another thing in there, brand continuity. How many times I hear people say, I've got these Tamiya acrylics. What should I thin them with? Oh, here comes the guy working somewhere. Oh, you got to use the Tamiya X28. That's the acrylic thinner. That's the stuff you got to use, Always use the same brand. Always use what's... Well, that's not really true. The X28, I use X28, but I don't use it for Tamiya acrylic paints. I use it for other things. But it has other purposes I use it for. But I shoot the Tamiya acrylic paints with Mr. Leveling Thinner, or Tamiya lacquer thinner, Mr. Rapid Thinner, Mr. Leveling Thinner. I don't like X28 for Tamiya acrylic paints. One, it's not strong. It's not aggressive. It doesn't bite into plastic. So you rub it, you scratch it, whatever, the paint comes off. Lacquer thinners make the Tamiya paints a little tougher. So I don't always use their X28 at all. In fact, for their acrylic paints, I use lacquer thinners. But so that's one thing. It doesn't always have to be brand loyal. The Mr. Leveling Thinner, I keep it in the cabinet here. That's why I'm pointing over there, not Laurel and Hardy. But anyway, the Mr. Leveling Thinner, I use it for almost all my painting. I use it for AK Real Colors. I use it for the Mr. Color. I use it for the Tamiya lacquers, Tamiya acrylics. I use it for everything. It's great stuff. But it's not brand loyal. It's not brand continuity. So, it's okay if you really have no clue what you're doing and there's no one around there who does know what they're doing to help you. Maybe do that. To me, airbrush cleaner / cement. I don't use their airbrush cleaner. I mean, it's great for cement, but I don't use it as an airbrush cleaner. It's too expensive. I use cheap hard store lacquer stuff. In fact, here's what I use right here. For those of you who have a Home Depot or a Blows nearby, clean strip lacquer thinner. This is great stuff for cleaning the airbrushes. This is what I always clean the airbrush with. Now, don't make this mistake. Look at the label carefully. If you see the words eco-friendly, don't buy that one. It's garbage. It's crap. It ain't going to clean crap. You know what I mean? Use the stuff I showed you, not the one that is bad for everything. So anyway, don't be a sucker for brand continuity. All that really does is cost you more money. But if you really have no idea what you're doing, there's no one there to tell you better, then that's fine. But you can save yourself a lot that way. And again, coming back to the don't follow directions all the time. Not just with the instructions on a model, but let's take, for example, my favorite metal paint, the Mr. Metal color. The instructions say, both on their website and on the bottle, apply with a hand brush and then let it dry and then buff it. I never, ever, ever have or will do it that way. What I do is I airbrush it. I put it in my airbrush cup, and I will either use 99% alcohol or Mr. Rapid, not leveling, Mr. Rapid thinner, and thin it lightly with those. Very light, and my metal series on the channel has that, and I'll probably make another updated one. But anyway, a light coat, let it sit there about 20, 30 seconds. Remember, I'm in Hell's Armpit. It's the desert. It's hot. Things dry right away. If you live in, banana jungle and it's humid and everything, it's going to be different for you. But anyway, I airbrush it, slightly thinned. 20, 30 seconds, I get a very soft paper towel, maybe an old t-shirt, and I buff it. And most of it comes off, but there's a little bit left. After about 3-4 coats, that's where it really comes together, and I'm done. It looks great. And I let it dry 2 days, and then I can tape it till the cows come home. It doesn't come off. It stays there. It's sturdy. It's great. It's resistant to most decal solutions, and I like that stuff a lot. So, but I'm not following the directions. So that kind of brings you to 10.5, I guess, and that's experiment. Try things. Try things out. Instead of asking around, hey, should I do this, blah, 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 because half of the advice you get is going to be dumb, people who have never done it, or they'll say, test it on a plastic card. Well, it doesn't always look like a model when it's on a plastic card. It's a different type of plastic. That stuff is slick and smooth, Try something. Have an old cheap model that that you normally wouldn't build, but hey, it was on sale or it's missing parts, it's super cheap, and just use that as a test mule. Test your paints, your decal solutions, whatever on it. Try it out. That model that you maybe didn't want to finish because it didn't turn out the way you liked it, and you're all set to throw it away, don't throw it away, keep it. You want to use it to test things out on, You can always strip it and repaint it later. So, try things out, Just think of the person who first discovered using artist's oil paints on these models. Look at the world that opened for us, you know what I mean? Inks. Who was the first one to try using inks? Then you get a little 409 and spray it off, and it's clean. Just think of those things. Always try something a little different. You're gonna something I found for myself. I don't know. I'm sure I'm not the first person to try it, but I'm the first person I know who tried it, and that was rubbing metallic pigments into your metal finishes. Adds a lot of depth and gives you tone variance and stuff. Of course, you got to do that late in the game because any tape you put over there is going to pull those pigments off. But you can always rub them in and catch it back up. But anyhow, just try things out. Don't be, be afraid. So those are Terry's 10 there. Rules, if you will, to help with your modeling. And that's about that for now. Maybe, just maybe, I'll do a tour of the work area pretty soon. I don't know. I got everything in every nook and cranny here. It'd probably have to be a multi-part series. But if you guys are interested in that, let me know. I'll go ahead and do it for you. But I just don't see how that can be exciting for anybody. Who knows? But yeah, let me know. Hey, thanks for tuning in and bearing with me through this 27 minutes, 4 seconds and counting. I hope you found something useful in here, and we'll see you next time. If my remote lets me turn this off.